Hello, welcome to another episode of Desassossego, which in English would be something like, I don't really know exactly right now, but restlessness or something like that. And it's going to be in English again because I'm going to be talking to my friend Sam. And the reason why I wanted to talk to Sam, usually Desassossego doesn't have a particular theme, but since Sam is going through quite an interesting experience, I thought it would be interesting to talk to him about that. Hello, Sam.
Hey, Pedro.
And what happens is that me and Sam used to have quite similar lifestyle and similar likes and dislikes. And I don't know whether, well, I probably do know because I know Sam and he's my friend, but let's assume I don't know whether he flew too close to the sun or what happened. But the truth is that at a certain point in his life, he felt like he shouldn't drink or take substances anymore. And it's interesting because we met precisely because one day I was living in Birmingham. Sam is from a different English city, and I wanted to go and visit, and I looked for couches and couch surfing, and I didn't have too much time. I don't know. And usually, when people go by the picture of someone on couch surfing, it's not a good thing because they're looking for hot babes or hot guys. Let's be honest. Usually, it's guys looking for hot babes. But I do go for pictures quite often, but more because of the vibe that I get. And what I saw in Sam's picture, and I didn't remember this until he told me again, and then I started remembering, and then I don't know whether I built that memory or not, but it's a true one. It's that he was drinking a beer, and I thought that wow, this guy is fun, and we will probably talk about this bias that I had in that moment, which is it's not that I want to hang out with people that drink, but I like to hang out with people that are fun. And I had and still have, in some ways, this association. And I was like, yeah, this is the guy. Then I checked his profile, and I remember, or Sam reminded me that he liked High Fidelity, the probably the movie, not the book, but it's I have the book, although I never read it, but I watched the movie, and we had other stuff in common, and we became really good friends, and it's been almost 10 years now. And at a certain point, you felt, Sam, like alcohol wasn't doing any favors, but maybe like you can. We are from different cultures, and I wonder whether how much of an association you think people have in England, for example, with alcohol and a good time, or alcohol and an interesting person, or any of those variances.
Um, yeah, with the English culture, I mean, it's deeply embedded. I mean, as it is in most cultures around the world, it's kind of crazy. Now I've been almost 11 months sober. It's interesting to take a step back and see how deeply it is inside of the culture. And yeah, people absolutely associate it with having a good time, and it's almost impossible to have a good time without drinking alcohol in some situations, like a Friday night, going to the pub and whatnot.
Yeah, and I definitely can relate because I do think that you guys might drink a little more than we do in Portugal, but still not that much more. And I remember if I'm out and I'm at a party and I meet someone that doesn't drink, probably if I'm frank, I will make some judgment about this person, like they're not so fun or whatever. And of course, it shouldn't. I was going to say it should be up to the other person to convince me that they are, but maybe it's already fucked from the beginning because maybe it shouldn't be up to me to think that they aren't. It's like the onus of the evidence or the proof or something is on them rather than on me.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess it's like what you find fun in the end, and where you and like I was in the past, that for me one of the best ways to have fun was to drink alcohol. I just found it amazing and so much fun, and probably so much so that I like to do it often. Um, but now, yeah, now having some space, it's like I don't know if I just adjusted to life without alcohol, and now I find other things more interesting, but it's not. I don't feel like I'm missing out on fun. So yeah, I don't know if I've adjusted to fun being less, or I just find other things more fun now. But I think it's just that you value alcohol where others don't. Would you say that?
I'll tell you. Yeah. Yes, I say that I can understand what you're saying, but I can tell you like why I enjoy drinking. And for those watching, I'm not drinking out of spite. Like, yeah, I'm talking to a sober person. I'm drinking wine. No, it's not that. I just enjoy drinking, and I, like most people, and I'm an extrovert, so it's kind of peculiar. But like most people, I feel that whenever I go into a situation with people that I don't know, I have this instant feeling that if we're all having a drink, it's going to be easier for everyone. Do you think it's true? Do you think it's true, but still it's worth it not to rely on that? Or do you think it's just not like that, and it's just a biased opinion that I have because I'm still a drinker?
It's difficult to say actually, because when I first quit, I guess I was kind of like, I joined a website which I can talk about later. And on that website, it's just anti-alcohol. Like, alcohol is terrible. You don't need it for any reason. There's no reason to drink alcohol, and it would convince you that there is no reason to do it. And I think I got wrapped up in that mentality. And one of the things that they said is that if a group of people are meeting, like if it's a group of new people, it's going to be awkward for everybody. And we think that alcohol helps with the awkwardness, but actually it's not. It's just time. And you think it's that one beer, and it's not. It's just that you've been around with each other for 20 minutes and you've managed to get over the awkwardness and the insecurities and made some small talk, and then you feel more comfortable. So but you know, alcohol does relax you. So it's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I'm sure a group of people, if they hung around, new people hung around for an hour, then they're going to feel more relaxed without alcohol, right?
That makes perfect sense, because you're not drunk after you drink a beer. But somehow, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I think there's also like kind of what's it called, where you take you think you take some medicine, but it's not actually medicine. Placebo. Yeah, I'm sure there's a placebo effect. So to think that, okay, I am drinking, and so I will feel this way. And actually, I get it a little bit with alcohol free. And yeah, I feel like I need to explain this to the viewers that I'm actually drinking, but it's alcohol free.
Wait. Show it again, because it didn't have the full. Yeah. So Sam still drink beers, just alcohol free ones.
Which I find strange myself, but but with the libido, not libido, placebo.
But yeah, maybe we can talk about libido and alcohol as well. Yeah. I'm serious.
But yeah, I mean, I get it with this. Like, for some reason, having this beer in my hand now makes me feel more comfortable and relaxed. So it might not even be the alcohol itself, like the drug that helps people with this social anxiety or whatnot. Maybe it's just the idea that it does help. That plus the time.
Yeah, for sure. Because yeah, as I was gonna say, I feel it too. And if I'm in a situation where I know I'm not gonna be drinking that night at all, and I'm in a party, I already envision. Okay, it's two scenarios. One scenario, I'm in a normal party and I start drinking, but I only start to get drunk about maybe after 1 hour, and then it's undeniable that it has some impact. I'm not saying that all the placebo goes off the window. I still keep some of the placebo, but until the first hour, until I start to get drunk, it's just the fact that I am holding that beer or that wine that I can count on to, like, maybe get me out of awkward situations, or having more, or being more at ease, and finding other people more interesting as well. And I'm like you. I'm someone that really enjoys other people, and I enjoy really trying to find a connection with them. And I feel that this connection, that my level of interest, and I'm being totally frank here because I have no reason not to be, but I feel like my ability to see what's interesting in other people increases because I'm intoxicated. Like, do you feel once you stop drinking, do you feel like it's more difficult to engage with people even after that hour or 2 hours? And I'm talking in general because, of course, every now and then there's someone that you don't need anything to make it flow with.
It's a bit of a difficult question. One is because I wasn't really used to interacting in these social settings without alcohol, so it was like I felt, and I still feel to some degree that I'm like on a learning curve with my social skills because I don't have alcohol to rely on anymore. I'm thinking, okay, how do I go about this? And also, I've not had so many opportunities because we've been stuck in since. It's been an interesting time to quit because yeah, it's been while we're all stuck inside. So I don't know if that made it easier or more difficult to quit. But yeah, I've not had so many opportunities to kind of test my sober social skills.
It's a good thing to mention because I could very quickly say it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. Isn't that the beginning of a book by Charles Dickens? It was the best of times, it was the worst. I think
Seems
so.
familiar.
Because on the one hand, yeah, you don't go out as often, so you don't. You're not confronted with that situation. On the other hand, and because you were drinking on a daily basis, right? You weren't getting drunk on a daily basis, but you were drinking on a daily basis. And,
Most days, yeah.
And I would guess that if people are alone, you're not able to go outside, that would increase. So on that aspect, it probably made it harder. So I don't know. I don't really know overall if we weigh both scenarios,
Yeah,
how it impacted.
I guess like for sure. I mean, there's like these triggers, as they call them, like certain situations which make you want to drink or to use. I think there are less now because I'm not meeting people in the bar. I'm not like I'm not working in the office and where there's a lot of people saying, okay, let's just get a quick one before we end. I'm not in them situations all the time, which would be not just a trigger, it's an invitation to drink or to use. So I don't have those triggers anymore, but yeah, I guess this life has, I guess, more stresses. Like there's more challenges, or at least more different challenges at the moment with this lockdown, which for many people, I'm sure, makes them drink more or use more.
Okay, let's go back a little bit because before you decided to quit drinking, you had already had your own journey with weed, right? Like you went from you tell it.
Yeah, with weed, it was kind of an interesting one, I guess. I don't know where it came from. Well, actually, I went to Australia. I guess this was in 2008 or something like that. And I tried weed a little bit. I used to eat it at university.
Eat it.
Yeah, we used to eat it, and it was actually amazing. It was like we used to eat so much, so it was almost like a psychedelic experience. It was like a really heavy high, not what I would really even associate with like smoking. But then I went to Australia and started smoking a little bit, and I was traveling there for like 6 months. And then when I got back, I thought, oh, I kind of like that. So then I was searching it out more, and I would smoke with my brother. My friend and one of my best friends had been in Canada for like around the same period of time, and we both got back and we were both like, oh, we're both smoke weed now. Let's smoke weed together, and then we became like stoner friends all of a sudden. Like we were both, yeah, we were both kind of anti-drug, well, not anti-drugs, but we weren't taking drugs before that, and we both had our own experiences, and we came back and we were both stoners, which was kind of nice at that time.
What time were you? Sorry, how old were you at the time?
This was 2008. 23 maybe, something like that, 22, 23. Okay. So I was kind of late to be a stoner. People start
late to be a stoner. It's a great sentence. I was kind of late to be a stoner, but I did my best and I pulled through. I became a stoner.
Yeah, and so I moved to Manchester at some point. Yeah, that's when I met you, and then that's when I started to smoke daily. I started to feel like it was a problem even then. But I continued and moved to Berlin. And
Why did you smoke so much? Because daily is a lot, we can agree, I think. And why was it a problem? So like both sides, why did you smoke so much and why was it a problem?
Why did I smoke so much?
What did you get from it?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's difficult because it was quite a while ago, and I don't know what I was getting from it exactly at that point. It seems cliche, but I kind of want to say that it might have been a bit of an escape. Like the work I was doing was terrible. Like I was, or for me it was. It's not like for many people I find it fine. But I was working to finance my studies at the time. I was working in a call center selling telephone lines and internet connections. You like to joke that I was selling vacuum cleaners. But
yeah, I thought about it, but I wasn't going to say it.
Well, whatever. I was selling vacuum cleaners. If you like that story better, and that's just like it's just call after call, and mostly people treating you really badly, and you have to put up with it, and you're under constant pressure to sell and sell and sell. And I think this got to me, and I feel like I needed something at the end of the day just to kind of relax and unwind and take myself like somewhere else. This is what I'm guessing, but like maybe we'll go into this a bit deeper like later. Is that I'm seeing now I've quit. Now I'm seeing other reasons why I use in general, but I definitely don't connect like the reasons I was using alcohol or other substances to like why I was using weed at that time. But yeah, it felt like I just needed some type of escape, a way to zone out.
So that's why you were smoking, and then why did you feel like it was too much?
I think just because I felt like an addict. That's it. Like I was smoking every day, and I didn't like that. I guess I didn't associate it with myself. I felt like I couldn't not smoke, and I just didn't like it. I didn't really see any negatives in my life. It wasn't as if I mean, there's not so many like health problems you can really get with weed. I think one of the main problems is if like you can get psychosis, but I never really had any of that. The most of the thing was that I was just a bit lazy. You know, I wasn't really participating in life as much as I would like. I mean, but still doing a ton. I was still studying. I was still like, at that point, I was like climbing about 5 times a week as well. So I was kind of an active stoner in some way. No, I mean, there are active stoners. So there are some stoners who do a lot of stuff, and others that just sit down.
It's a funny thing to say, an active stoner. I never heard that expression.
Well, I guess I was one, and yeah, I mean, during that addiction, then I even moved to Berlin, where I live now, and I managed to start a career and like do many things whilst I had that addiction. So even though it definitely was an addiction, and I wasn't able to stop, the negative sides of it were not too bad. Like towards like the end, when I actually finally did quit, I was feeling, yeah, I could feel the effects of it mentally. I felt like always a bit disconnected from reality in some way. I felt slow at work. Like getting up in the morning was a drag as well. I mean, I was drinking as well, which I'm sure had an effect. But at that time, I didn't really see the drinking as a problem. All my friends drank a lot, and so I didn't think about it. It was more of the weed, which I felt was the problem there, and yeah, it was just making me lethargic, lazy. I felt like I couldn't concentrate like I used to be able to. No.
And along these lines, we also have together you dabbled or you took MDMA sometimes or other shit.
Kind of, yeah. That was I took it some years after I moved to Berlin. I was always like a bit scared of these heavier drugs, you would say. But I took MDMA just a couple of times, and actually the first time I took it, I had a really bad experience. Although I only took a small amount, it was way, way, way too much for me. And yeah, I felt like I was losing my mind a little bit that time, and it actually took me about 2 weeks to recover from that first MDMA experience. Yeah, I was hallucinating like heavily.
The first time, it's not that one you told me about in Berlin.
Yeah, it could have been. If it wasn't the first, it was one.
The one you told me, it's too late to be the first, I think. Was it in Berlin?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the first, but one of the first times. I've not taken it too many times up to then. I mean, it might have not just been the MDMA, because I actually was smoking a lot of weed that night and drinking pretty heavily. So it was a mix, you know. I was what they call it, like in I see news reports when people overdose, they have a cocktail of drugs. I went with a cocktail, and it didn't work out very well. That was one of like the first experiences of MDMA, which was not good. Actually, the first few times taking MDMA, I didn't get what most people get from it. I didn't get these euphoric feelings and feeling amazing or anything. I don't know why I just didn't connect with it like I did later.
For those who don't know what MDMA is a substance that provoke. I think I know what happens in the brain, but I'm not 100% sure, so I will not say anything. Do your own research. But yes, what happens is there's an overwhelming, almost overwhelming, because if it's overwhelming, it's bad. An almost overwhelming feeling of love and connection with other people, and it can sometimes people can be quite, not for 2 weeks like Sam was, but quite often people report feeling quite depressed for a day or two. Never really happened to me, but it's something that happens. And it's something that can elicit some kind of I guess it can be addictive, of course. Like I know people that would do it every weekend, and it's not something that people would do every day unless we're talking about the top drug addicts. But a normal person that likes to party could perhaps get a bit hooked and do it weekly, which is probably too much, I think, for MDMA.
Yeah, I think it's although it's not a physically addictive drug, I mean, like anything is addictive in the end, pretty much. And so, of course, it is addictive mentally, it's just not physically addictive. And so, yeah, people tend to not take it every day because it doesn't work after a while, because it releases dopamine, I think. Is it dopamine?
Well, what I was going to say that I wasn't sure about is that it blocks the reabsorption of some happiness hormones, and then we have too much of it. So instead of like reabsorbing our own hormones, it blocks it, and then we have too much of it. But I'm not entirely sure of this, so please, people, do your own research.
Me either, and I really should be an expert with me being a user, but I'm not. But after a few days, like it just gets less and less. Like it feels like you don't have enough of serotonin or dopamine, whatever it is. Like you don't have enough in your brain anymore. And if you're taking it a few days in a row, then you can have really heavy come downs because you just drain yourself. And so people don't take it every day. It just doesn't work after a while.
So you decided that you shouldn't be smoking weed anymore, and you didn't smoke weed for quite a while, I think. And
well, it was actually difficult for me to quit. I just couldn't do it. I mean, from when I first kind of was thinking about it and being unhappy that I was acting like an addict, I guess I didn't even think it. I felt like I was a weed smoker, but I wasn't an addict. I was just somebody who's doing this all the time, but I just didn't associate myself with being an addict at all. And I didn't really associate myself with being a weed smoker. People really take it as part of their identity and they're happy with it. And that's kind of cool, but I never did that. I was always a little bit, this is something that I don't associate with and I wanted to stop. And yeah, it took probably years of feeling like that, quitting for a little bit, but not really being able to go like probably more than a week without smoking. Unless I was traveling or something. And the only way I was able to quit, which it was by starting to smoke tobacco, because I was always smoking weed with tobacco, rolling it in joints. And yeah, it just occurred to me that maybe it's the tobacco that I can't quit here. And I was absolutely terrified of being a tobacco smoker. Like, I think my parents had just drilled it into me. Both of them smoke, and they drilled it into me that this is a terrible thing to do. And I never
used to smoke, or they smoke?
They still smoke. And when I was a child, they were smoking, and they drilled it into me that this is a terrible thing to do, which it is. Great lesson. And I listened, and I tried. And I think that, like, for even at university, like, people would smoke spliffs, but I would only eat it when people were eating it. I never wanted to smoke, but at some point, I got into it, and I was smoking it with smoking the weed with tobacco, and then then I realized the addiction is with tobacco actually, and so I started smoking cigarettes, and then I was able to quit the weed relatively easily actually. And yeah, I didn't smoke any weed for 3 years after that. I remember the first time doing it again. I was at a bar here in Berlin, and I was with a couple of friends. And I've been offered it plenty of times. Like, although it's technically illegal here, it sometimes feels like it's legal. Like it's everywhere in the parks. It's completely open. People smoking it in bars and whatnot. But this time, a guy offered me a spliff that he was smoking, and I remember thinking,
were you drunk?
I'd been drinking. I wasn't drunk, as far as I remember. And I remember thinking, it's kind of scary to touch this drug again because I don't want to go back to that addiction. So I was there was a lot of trepidation there, but I tried a little bit. I didn't get high. Like I had a hit, and I didn't feel like I wanted to use it all the time. And to be honest, I feel like weed is an interesting drug in that sense, because I know quite a few people that had their stoner years, like they did their juice in that addiction and then kind of left it. I don't know if people get bored or just. But it seems like people can just. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
And I have a theory, which is based on random observations here and there, so I don't know if it's true. And you disprove my theory, which is, it seems to me, because I have quite a few friends that they started smoking when they were like 15 or 16, and then they smoked a lot, and they become daily smokers, and then it got to a point when they were, I don't know, 25, 26, and they never smoked again. Doesn't mean they won't smoke every now and then, but like once a year or something, but they never smoked again. Whereas I feel like if people start to smoke later in life, like I did, I started smoking. First time I smoked, I was 20, and I only started to smoke every now and then when I was like 24, maybe, and I never became a daily smoker. So I don't know if there's a connection to it. I don't know if you have observed this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that for some time I was like heavily smoking, and now I don't. Like even now I'm completely abstinent of any substance. I still think I could actually smoke weed very like occasionally when I wanted to. I think that addiction is just gone. Although, I'll tell the story a bit later.
Okay, so you smoked that time in that bar, and you didn't get high, and then what? You went back to smoking every now and then again, or how was your pattern?
Yeah, I think like the next time after that was when I went to San Francisco, and well, I was actually staying in Oakland. Oakland is a neighboring city to San Francisco. I was going with my girlfriend at the time, and she lost a passport. We was taking different flights, and she'd lost a passport in London airport, so she was delayed. I arrived in San Francisco. Luckily, two of her brothers picked me up and hung around with them, and then it got to the night time, and I needed to go to the place where we were supposed to be staying, which was a friend of my girlfriend's. He was away. A friend was away for the weekend, so we had the place to ourselves. And I went in there. It was actually an amazing apartment. It used to be an old like workshop for cars, so like 2 stories high, like really what's the word I'm looking for? Like I don't know, industrial, and it had
this was in Oakland, you said.
Yeah, this was in Oakland, and this apartment was incredible. And I was super tired. I was like jet lagged, and I walked up to like the first. It was like a split floor thing. I walked up there, sat on the couch, and then I saw like a selection of 3 bongs and all of these different types of weed, because it's in California, where it was. I don't know if it was legal then, but like medically legal, and all you needed to do was call somebody and say, I've got this problem, and they say, here's certificate, all these different types of weed. I was like, whoa, that looks really tempting. But I was scared as well. I was still scared of that addiction that I could get into where I didn't want to go. Like, okay, do I, don't I, what do I do? And in the end, I decided, okay, I do it. So I like got the bong, packed it in. Like, it was like super nervous. But yeah, I took a hit of this bong, and incredible, man. Like such a good high. It was like almost like a psychedelic experience as well, but really nice. I was like really interested in watching some bullshit on the TV, really interested in like just reading anything, finding things just so funny. And then so what that meant was then I smoked that weed every day for like 6 days straight.
Okay.
I'm like, oh God.
I'm falling back into it. Goddamn.
There you go. Yeah, I was like, well, I was worried, and then so then
There was a reason. I was worried, and there was a reason to be worried. I don't know why I forgot.
Yeah, and then so coming back to Berlin, I'm thinking, well, how's this going to pan out? And I got back, and I just didn't want to use it anymore. It was, I call it a weed holiday. Like somehow I just enjoyed it, smoked it every day, sometimes in the day. But I got back, and I just didn't want to use it. It was so strange. I really got back into that addiction just for those few days, but somehow how I was living my life at that point, I didn't have any like association. I didn't want to use it.
But then you would smoke every now and then, perhaps mostly when you were in Portugal or something.
Yeah, but to be honest, like I was just on the fringes of getting high. Like I wouldn't be like getting very high like too often. It's not.
I'm
like
asking because that seems, and for people who don't know me and Sam, I'm not trying to persuade Sam to smoke or anything. I'm asking questions because I know he will have his own answers, and that's what I'm interested in hearing. Because if you were smoking every now and then why would you want to stop this little thing, like stop really for good, as you have this little thing that you were doing every now and then?
I think it would lead me onto other drugs. What I'm understanding now from what people are telling me and how I can see my own usage of other drugs is that it's a progressive disease, and it gets worse. And I feel like if I'm smoking weed, at some point I'm gonna pick up something else, or probably the weed would just get more and more. And maybe I wasn't smoking. I wasn't interested in the weed because I was relying more on alcohol or MDMA or whatever. But there's always been some type of addiction there, like different degrees of addiction, different substances, but there's always been something there. So maybe if I'm not doing anything else, then maybe the weed consumption would go higher. And yeah, what I said, I've got a story about that recently, like earlier. So what happened with weed recently is that I don't know. I decided I wanted to quit everything. Oh no, I wanted to quit MDMA. I've not been drinking for like 11 months, but I thought, okay, I need to stop MDMA as well. And but I thought that I don't want to be like completely sober. I thought, okay, like I felt like MDMA was causing some problems in my life, so I need to throw that out. Like I didn't like the idea of being completely sober and clean the whole time. So I thought, well, what about weed? Like I could just get high once every week or every 2 weeks. Maybe that'll be fine for me. It's not like a damaging drug, one of the least damaging drugs, like if it does any damage at all, like once a week is fine. I've quit tobacco now as well, so I didn't want to smoke it. I didn't want to do that action in case I like got some triggers to smoke. So I cooked a load of weed brownies, like space brownies. I thought, okay, yeah, I'll try these.
What was this?
This was must have been 7 or 8 weeks ago. I tried one on the Sunday, and then I got high every day for 12 days until the weed was gone, until the brownies were gone. And I'm like,
really?
Oh I'm like, fuck, I'm an addict. I'm like, this is insane, man. It's like if it's there,
wow.
and I just switched straight to that other addiction. That's what I needed. So it feels like if I can't have MDMA, then I'll switch to this. I can't have alcohol. It's just like switching around. Then I realized, okay, I was thinking about seeking help to do these things, but that was like kind of the switch for me. Then like 12 days straight or whatever it was, like and not like I was still working. It was I was only like doing it in the evenings and whatnot. It wasn't as if I threw my life away to eat the space brownies. It was more like at the end of the day, I would have one and have like a 2 or 3 hours high before I would go to bed. I didn't go wild, but still like 12 days straight. And then so in my mind, I was like, okay, and there's something within me that just wants to consume in some way. It wants to feel something, because yeah, this was kind of amazing to me. My plan of eating some like once a week or once every 2 weeks just was thrown away. Just the very next day, I did it on the Sunday, and then Monday evening, I'm like, oh, why not?
But
And then it was like that.
I can understand. Well, I can understand everything, but I can understand like if you on the second day you do it again, but then at some point on the fourth day or fifth day, while you still have it, you must already think that you, not according to the laws of the universe, but according to what you envision for yourself. I suppose you didn't need to wait until it was over for you to realize that you shouldn't be doing that. I suppose that you realized, oh, 3 days in a row or 4. So what happens then? Like you know that you shouldn't do it. Like do you say like, well, it's going to be this and then no more, or do you think, just tonight and tomorrow I won't do it? What goes through your mind?
It's a good question, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of like cognitive dissonance there, like lots of like telling yourself one thing, then like kind of ignoring that you made that agreement with yourself. But yeah, I mean, I knew like probably even on the Monday, I knew the plan wasn't to do it 2 days in a row, and I did it. And maybe on the Monday, like the second day, I was like, it's okay, just one more time. So like the third time, even before I was eating, I was like, yeah, okay, what am I doing? I didn't want to do that. I don't want to get into this addiction, which I kind of felt like I got over in some way. So yeah, it was worrying, and so yeah, I think at that point I already kind of knew I needed to get help. I needed to like reach out to somebody for me to like get a grasp properly on my addictions in general. And I guess at some point I was just like, well, this is the last hurrah or something, the last opportunity I have to take something. And so I was just going for it. And it's difficult for me even to have an answer, give you an answer that I'm satisfied with, because I don't know exactly what was going through me. It's just that I was unable to not take it. That's the only thing I could say.
You touched on something that reminded me of something else when you said that, because at a certain point you said with different words that one of the problems for weed would be that it would probably lead you to take someone else, and that reminded me of the concept of gateway drug. And I feel like the concept of gateway drug perhaps is exaggerated on both ends. Let's say the conservative side and let's say the liberal side. And I think on the conservative side, people use the concept of gateway drug, saying that if you smoke weed, eventually you'll take heroin. It's a parody. I'm exaggerating. I'm aware of that, but let's take that for the sake of argument. And on the liberal side, sometimes I think that people might be, and I'm speaking against myself. It's just that I never thought about it this way, because it's easy to see the anti-science in the others, but not in myself. So sometimes liberals like myself speak of gateway drugs as if it's totally not a thing, but nobody goes from nothing to taking cocaine. So my question is, like, do you really think that the concept of gateway drug is something that we should worry about when we want to legalize weed, for example? As your personal experience with the substances made you reconsider the legality that drugs should have?
I guess I like two really different. Yeah, there's two different questions there, but I mean, it's kind of strange, yeah, because it's like we're saying that this is a gateway drug. It's like we're discounting that alcohol is a drug, and which most of us do. And even like for a long time, I've like accepted that alcohol is a drug. It's only now that I'm kind of actively like working on my addictions, is that like I really think it's a drug now. And so if we're talking about gateway drugs, we have to talk about alcohol. Like, how is weed a gateway drug and alcohol isn't, just because it's illegal? Then this kind of like the argument that it's a gateway drug is a little bit strange. And you know, with this idea of alcohol being a drug, it's so strange. If any drug should be legal, it should be weed for sure. Like, alcohol causes so many problems. It's so destructive, so addictive. It costs so much money for the economy.
Damaging to the body in a way that weed isn't. Not only socially, of course, alcoholism is worse than stonerism. But even for the body, in social terms, but even for the body itself, it's way worse.
In the body, it's terrible. Yeah, it's bad for the cardiovascular, lungs, heart. It's bad for your kidneys. Bad for your brain. It gives you brain damage. It's bad to like everything. It's so poisonous. It's one of the most damaging drugs out there, and one of the most not one of the most addictive, but like super addictive as well. And people don't realize that it is that bad. It's like a terrible drug. The crazy statistics, like, I don't know exactly, but it's something like half of the people that commit homicide are drunk. That's fucking insane, isn't it?
What?
And it's something similar with domestic violence and stuff like that. Like, so
domestic
many
violence,
crimes.
I would predict it. But, homicide, I guess, makes sense.
I might have exaggerated with that, but it's like a really surprising statistic, like crazy high. And if it was the other way around, then we wouldn't. If it was weed, which was legal, and not alcohol, then we wouldn't have all of those problems, because people aren't going to go around like shooting people when they're high. Maybe one or two people, but generally
they'll shoot them tomorrow.
People are not people are not fighting each other. They're not like doing all of that stuff. And so if we could imagine that where we would, if we would live in that society where weed is legal and then alcohol isn't, like, and we say, oh, alcohol's the gateway drug, then that like kind of argument breaks down. And think about gateway drugs. It's the gateway illegal drug, but it's not the gateway drug.
Yeah. It's just because it's so, as you said earlier, it's so ingrained in our culture that we don't even consider it as a drug. And of course, it is a drug. For example, I know nicotine is a drug, but I don't really consider it a drug, but because it doesn't get you high. But alcohol is definitely a drug.
You know, nicotine's an interesting one, actually. Do you know this guy? I don't know his first name, but he's called Hamilton. He's basically a guy who loves drugs. He does documentaries on drugs and whatnot, mostly for Vice. And he's I think some type of biologist as well. So he looks at the substances, what they're made up of. He synthesized DMT. So he's quite interested in like all aspects of drugs, like from the societal side and to the chemistry side. And he was snorting like nicotine, and he was talking about the high, and it makes him concentrate like really heavily, and it's super addictive. So even though you don't really get those effects too much in smoking, nicotine is definitely a narcotic, actually. It's a drug.
Okay. So alcohol does give people an addiction in the bodily sense, because, for example, I feel like I'm addicted to alcohol in a social sense, which is my body doesn't beg for alcohol, but my mind might. And again, like, I think like most people, and I say like most people because I'm feeling perhaps under scrutiny, and I want to make myself appear more normal. Therefore, I say most people, saying like not just me. But if I go over my own ego and just speak from my own experience, then yeah. But I don't except from when I have a particularly bad hangover, then that could be literally my body craving for more alcohol, or then it can just be dehydration. I don't know, and it doesn't matter for what I'm going to say. But as far as I know, you didn't have this. You weren't addicted. Your body wasn't asking for alcohol, I suppose. Yeah,
I mean,
physically.
I have experienced alcohol withdrawal. Like, so if you shake after drinking, that's alcohol withdrawal. I have done that. I wasn't doing it every day, of course.
If you shake, oh, really?
Yeah,
you were shaking.
not all the time, not how you would imagine a really struggling alcoholic to constantly be like this. But I have shaken from drinking. I drank too much one evening, and the next day I've been shaken, and that's alcohol withdrawal. Like getting really red in the face and having like hot sweats. I have experienced alcohol withdrawal when I was like deep into the addiction. But I think then there's another level to like alcohol withdrawal, which is dangerous for you. So if you're like a heavy alcoholic, like not like what I was, then you
It's
have to
called
go into.
delirium tremens, and it's really people hallucinate, and yeah, that's like the
You could die,
proper.
yeah. You can have strokes and heart attacks when that's happening. So you need to get treatment. You need to go into a hospital, and then they need to treat you to do that. So yeah, I mean the withdrawals can be very heavy. I just experienced it a few times, like after like particularly heavy night.
Because my question was going to be, okay, so you have experienced withdrawal symptoms, but not like I'm going to say proper alcoholic. And you were still working. You weren't missing days of work because of your drinking. So what made you start thinking about actually quitting alcohol? Because we talked about weed and everything, but I think we can agree that the main thing for you has been alcohol.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm generally just talking about my addictions, like drug addictions, and I often refer to alcohol as my drug of choice these days, which is kind of an interesting way to think about it. When you like as you just take it as a drug, and yeah, alcohol is my drug of choice mostly. Sorry, I forgot the question. What did you say?
Why was it that you stopped? If you're still working, you're still functioning in society. Maybe you could do some silly things when you were drunk every now and then, but you didn't get into fights, and you maybe sometimes you woke up and feeling a bit embarrassed of something that you might have done or said, like as it happens sometimes to some people, but not all the time. So what made you really think, this is not okay for me? And because
Yeah,
let me just finish, because I think this one interesting part here is that as I said in the beginning, we had pretty similar habits. I don't drink every day like you were drinking, but we were really, really big fans of the party. And the party usually came with getting shit faced.
yeah,
And then you made a different choice, and I remained in where I am now. So it's interesting for me to know with more detail what made you go over.
I think it was quite a long period of feeling the effects. Like I think like with all of my addictions, I never went like deep. I was never destroying my life. I was maintaining relationships. I maintained a job, and actually, I guess many would categorize me as being successful in my job. You know, I have an apartment, I have responsibilities and whatnot. So I guess I've heard the term functioning alcoholic. So maybe I was a functioning alcoholic. So for a long time, like if I'm like measuring the stuff around me, then it's like, okay, that's fine. But actually, like for a long time, I was not really doing things that I wanted to do. And I think in the back of my mind, I was thinking this might be due to drinking too much alcohol. So I guess like maybe even like small things like taking care of my diets, like eating healthy, like doing exercise. You know, I feel like I should have learned German already, and I wasn't able to like dedicate time to that. Like clean my apartments as much as I would like to, and I guess too many days just feeling bad. You know, like waking up and thinking, oh, I'm a bit like groggy today, and I like to drag myself to work. And it's not like I would get to work, but you know, it was too many days that it was a struggle to get up. Like hearing the alarm clock, thinking, ah, fuck, I'm still feeling a bit shitty. And then making that journey to work every day, it was just too much of that, basically. And I didn't really have the plan of quitting completely. I think I was thinking, yeah, this is too much. And I would guess like most of my friends knew that I was drinking too much as well. But I was thinking, okay, I'll just have a break. And one of my friends here in Berlin was actually going to take a break in January last year. And he asked me to join him, and I was like, yeah, I need to. I felt like, actually, another thing which was on my mind is that I didn't like my trajectory. I felt like if I continued to drink as I was, and maybe this isn't the main thing, if I continued to drink as I was, I could see that I was gonna have some health implications in the future. Maybe if I continue to do that, I'm gonna be impacting my job in the future. Just because it's okay now and I'm managing doesn't mean I'll be okay in 10 years' time. And I didn't like the idea of me being like a 45-year-old like drunk with no job, no family or anything like that. And I could see that maybe
you saw that.
Maybe it was definitely a potential future. Maybe not definitely, but it could have been on the cards. Unfortunately, in my family, my auntie passed away, and it's likely that was due to drinking as well. That's pretty heavy as well. She died way earlier than she should have. Also, I also have some nieces and nephews which I love like dearly, and I felt like I wasn't really being a good role model. I mean, I was doing it's the same thing like with the other aspects of my life. I was taking care of all the responsibilities. I was there when I needed to do. I would buy them presents when I need to and whatnot. But I wasn't being a great role model for them. I wasn't, if I could see myself from outside, is that somebody they should look up to? I was like questioning it. And now I'm not drinking. I'm much closer to the role model that I want to be.
But because I think you're such a great guy, as you know, and even with you drinking, what do you think that they were seeing? Or maybe it's what they could see eventually, not what they were seeing on a daily basis when you were.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they were seeing, but it's more.
Would you get drunk and say stupid things, or?
No, not in front of them. I don't think I've ever been drunk in front of them. But I've been definitely drinking at the night with some friends, and in the morning I would be hungover in some way. Like alcohol was always like around me in some way, and so if you're drinking that much, even if I'm not like getting blackout drunk every night, it's still affecting like how I am and how I'm acting and how I'm being around people. Like it affects your mood and your thought processes and your energy levels. It affects all of this, and so I wasn't being the person that I really wanted to be.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that this. I understand you weren't being the best person you could be for them, whether they noticed it or not. Maybe. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they noticed something on some level. I mean, they're quite young, so maybe they didn't know, okay, this is drinking too much alcohol. My family never said, hey, look, don't drink around the children or anything like that. It was just more from pressure that I put on myself, I would say.
So you went and you joined this friend of yours to do the experiment?
Yeah, and I lasted all of 4 days, and I'm like, shit.
What happened on the first day? Somebody invited you to a party?
Yeah, but I mean, it was just nothing. I guess a couple of friends. I can't remember exactly, but I guess some friends were going to a bar or something, and it seemed so important. I can't miss this. I need to go out there and drink a beer. Then two people are going to a bar. How can I not go there? Super important.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, this is way more important than being a good role model to my nieces and nephews. I need to get there. I need to get to that bar. That beer's not going to drink itself right now. But I think before then it's crossed my mind like quite a few times that I need to do something about it, and it was a good opportunity, like with a friend as well, because it's difficult, like with your peers drinking, not to drink, and I'm hanging around with him like all the time, and he wasn't going to do it. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't last. And then then it was a worry. Then I knew that I have a problem. And yeah, I continued to drink, tried to reduce. Yeah, and it wasn't until he suggested we try again. I mean, he did well at that time. I think he didn't last a month, but he got towards the end of the month. But he suggested we try again in June last year, and that's when I managed to do the month.
So from January to June, you drank as you were drinking before, after the 4 days, normally.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You didn't try to refrain, like just normal.
Yeah, I tried, man. It's like it was almost impossible for me to like reduce or whatever. I would, tell myself I want to reduce, and then just before I know it, would just be doing the same thing. It's like, I'm sure it sounds completely ridiculous to anybody who doesn't have a problem like this at all, but it's like almost impossible not to do what I didn't want to do. Like, just to even reduce a little bit, I would just go through the same patterns. And it's difficult to even explain why I wasn't able to stop, but it just seemed like out of my control.
Because, yeah, I get it. It's like on the one hand, it's always our choice to pick up the glass. It is. But then on the other hand, I can understand why it's a compulsion, kind of. And I can understand how it must feel. It's difficult to and we've had discussions similar to this, but about different addictions from different people, where sometimes I might not be too sympathetic to people that can't control themselves. But since we've had those conversations, I thought about it, and it's strange because I've worked with addicts and I've worked with people that had different kind of vices and addictions, and at the same time, it is strange that one cannot control oneself, but that's how it is. But then, in the end, you did manage. So I don't know what to really think about our personal ability to actually do something.
Yeah, I mean, I educated myself. That was the main difference. I mean, I guess you would agree. For anybody watching, Pedro just said, "Yeah, just stop," and that was your solution for all addicts. Just stop. It seems.
I wouldn't be a great therapist.
What does Trump say? Trump says, "Yeah, good idea. It doesn't work." And yeah, I educated myself a second time. I started to read articles online. I joined.
Any kind of source that you know by heart, you can share.
Well, there's a really good subreddit. Like Reddit is a bit of a strange place, but it has a really good subreddit called, I think it's called Stop Drinking or Quit Drinking or something. That's a really good source of information, and really nice people in there and really supportive. Then I found, I don't know where I found it, but there's a company called 1 Year No Beer or something like that, and they kind of have challenges like 1 month, 3 months, a year, and they give you like a lot of support, like via Facebook. And I didn't get deep into that, but I did kind of join up for a trial. And then finally, because I signed up for like this 1 month trial that I was trying to quit. I didn't decide to quit forever. It was just for that month. Then I found another website which is very similar, but it was much better. It was much better for me at the time because it was free, actually. But I think in general the sources are better. And this website is called the Alcohol Experiment. And basically what it does is
Alcohol Experiment.
Yeah. And basically it's a website which challenges you to not drink for 1 month, and it gives you exercises and questions to ask yourself every day. There's a lot of video content that you can read, and then it gives you links to many other sources. So there's lots of books to read and whatnot. And basically it suggests that you don't drink for 1 month, and during that time you question your relationship with alcohol. And by going on that website, it did exactly what I needed. I did to really question my relationship with alcohol. And so much so that after the month, I decided to continue in my sobriety.
So at this point, go on.
No, actually, I was going to say, and even though you're supposed to do exercises every day, I think I only did the first like 10 or 11 exercises, and then I kind of got lazy and dropped it. But it seemed like that was all I needed to equip myself. I read a book, I can't remember the name of that, which was quite good as well. And yeah, that kind of reframed how I saw alcohol, and that seems enough for me to stick with it, where in the past it was almost impossible for me to not drink. Then it seems achievable, not easy. And the first few days were tricky. First couple of weeks were difficult as well, because I was getting so many triggers. It's so ingrained in my habits. Just changing any habit is difficult, even without any addiction. But it's so ingrained in my habits, and it's just all around me. The first couple of weeks were really difficult, but yeah, I feel like I equipped myself. I reframed how I viewed alcohol, and then yeah, after that initial difficulty, I was able to really just do it. Like, okay, it wasn't that difficult for me after that.
How was it because so 11, you said 11 months, so yeah, we were in quarantine, we were in Corona time already. So
yeah,
and
there's another thing which I kind of skipped over, which with my drinking, which is although like I guess for maybe years I was thinking, maybe it's a bit too much, but I was also just thinking that, you know, it's part of my lifestyle. I like to drink. I like to go out and have drinks. So maybe it's a bit too much, but fuck it, it's worth it. I like it. I was kind of in that mentality. Then I had like a really heavy breakup. Maybe we can like go into this a bit later, because I think it's interesting that during that relationship, I was just drinking once a week. My drinking went to absolutely where I would want it to be.
during the relationship.
Yeah. Without any difficulties, without hardly any effort, which was a surprise for me at the time. But then after the breakup, it was really heavy to me. Then I was drinking more alcohol than I'd ever drank before. So that's when it started to be a problem. After that breakup, I think I don't know, I needed it more than ever.
I was going to ask you, and I wasn't sure whether my plan was to say I'm going to ask you this now, and then we can edit it out if you don't want to talk about it. But I'm happy you mentioned it, because I was going to ask you precisely that, whether your relationship was a catalyst to drinking too much, and then a natural catalyst to stop drinking forever. Like,
Yeah,
you think you?
yeah, that was like a kind of a turning point in my progression, because that was heavy for me, this breakup. I mean, yeah, this pushed me to some way. It ultimately kind of led me to take MDMA, like I'd never really been interested in the past, and it kind of led into consuming that regularly. And then ultimately, it led me to stop taking everything.
Sorry, you froze, and I didn't get it. Why did your relationship, your breakup, lead you to taking too much MDMA?
Well, I guess actually it wasn't the breakup of the relationship that led me to do that. But it was that I needed something in my life, and that represented itself first of all with consuming more alcohol than I did in the past, and then later to consuming MDMA. Like at the moment, I'm going through like, it feels like quite an emotional growth, and my latest kind of theory actually that I think I have many addictions actually, in just a few, like in substance. And actually, I think my worst one is actually this type of relationship. I class it as some type of an addiction now, which is a kind of a wild idea for me. But for me, it makes a lot of sense. So actually, that relationship didn't cause it. That relationship was an addiction. Then I wasn't able to get that addiction, so it went to alcohol and MDMA. I was just switching between addictions.
Okay. So can you expand a bit further if you're comfortable? So your addiction is that kind of relationship, or one of your addictions? What do you mean, like
Yeah.
human contact on a level that is of
Yeah, I mean, so this is a new idea for me, so there might be some holes in it somewhere. It's, I guess, a theory at the moment, but yeah. So one thing I learned recently is that one reason I drink alcohol and consume MDMA is like a connection to people. It feels like this is something that I need for some reason, and for some reason it's difficult for me to get while sober, or at least consuming these substances allows me that connection really like easily. It's kind of a shortcut to that connection. And I guess like it might feel a bit weird. Like, how does alcohol do that? But I think you might be on the same wavelength. You know, like when you get drunk and you're on that journey together, like it's like a gang doing something. Might be really stupid, or you might only just go to a club and back home, but it's there together. And that, I think it's that connection, which is one reason that I like alcohol. And same with MDMA, but like MDMA is more obvious connection because you just feel pure love and empathy to you, like to anybody really.
But if the other person is on as well, it can be fantastic.
Yeah, and the reason I like categorize that type of relationship as an addiction as well. I mean, I got this idea from. Do you know Gabor Mate?
No.
Is an incredible like psychologist. I think he's like Hungarian born, but he's practicing in Canada now. If anybody's interested in this, in psychology,
Jamie, wait. Hey, Jamie, pull it up.
Pull it up, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And he was talking about his partner, and he said sometimes his like eyes glaze over, and he starts to think about his partner, his wife, in a particular way, and she knows to see it, that it's like an addiction playing up, and she tells him, "No, hey, look, you're going off." In like the addiction circle, they call this acting out. And I never knew this was addiction, and I think it is. I think seeking them relationships, it provides me with so much of what I need in my life. It provides me with, I feel valued. I feel like somebody loves me where I might not feel like it otherwise. I feel connected. And I feel that like deeply, like very deeply. And these relationships, like I guess to explain what these relationships which I seek out are very, very intense and very, very deep in emotion. And I think it's because it provides all of the things that I don't necessarily get otherwise. Yeah, and also in my life, I guess that I've heard this. The definition of an addiction is something that you do, that you keep on doing, which has negative effects. And it's only recently that I'm starting to think that I've never like got into heroin or crack or anything like that and screwed myself. But my crack is these relationships, because it destroys me. Like if it doesn't work out, I'm screwed. It like devastates my life. Like after this relationship, I was so sick in the end, like mentally, emotionally.
I've never seen you like that.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and my behavior was just like shitty. I couldn't like live in a good way. I couldn't think properly. I couldn't make good decisions, and I just like did some maths the other day. So I've only really engaged in 2 relationships like this. The first one when I was young, around 20. And then this one about 3 years ago, and both took me close to 3 years to get over. That's 6 years of my adult life, and I've only been an adult for what, 18 years. That's 1/3 of my life that I've been struggling, like really, like heavily struggling because of these relationships. And I'm like, wow, that's really something. So that's why I'm kind of classing that as an addiction now, because I still seek it out. I should have known after the first one, whoa, that's not good, because the relationships are not stable, they're not good, and I think it opens me up to be, although my partners have never done anything bad to me, it kind of opens me up to be treated badly as well, because I think I would accept to be treated badly just so I could get that crack, that like intense love type communication.
But how do you protect yourself from that? Because crack is crack. And I appreciate the comparison. I'm not. It makes sense what you're saying. I appreciate the comparison, but one thing where the comparison fails is that crack is crack, and you can see it, and you can choose not to take it. Whereas with an obsessive relationship, you don't know. Like, how do you protect yourself from that? It's more difficult. I would assume it's. I was gonna say it's almost impossible, but I get there could be some trigger warnings or something like that. Have you faced since your breakup, which was about 3 years ago, I think, this summer?
Yeah, but for last year.
Since these last 3 years, since you had that horrible breakup, did you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh shit, I'm really digging this girl, but I can see some things that will really fuck me up? It's more difficult, I suppose.
No, I've not felt like that. Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple of girls that I was like, oh, potentially, but it never got anywhere. So I've never really had that feeling. And to be honest, it feels like kind of a breakthrough to categorize relationships like that in this way, because my whole life I was kind of questioning what happens to me. So although I've only engaged in 2 relationships like that, I have dated girls and I felt that way as well. It just never materialized into like a committed relationship, or however you want to say it. But I have fell for girls, and I can do it quickly, man. I fell for one girl in just one night. I don't know how it happened, but I was just there, just into it completely, and struggled as well when it didn't work out. But so it's only recently that I've kind of categorized it in this way. So I've not even gone anywhere close to thinking, well, how do I protect against this? And for a long time I was thinking, this is what I need in my life. This makes me feel amazing. This makes me feel good. And it's not like where the comparison with crack falls down is like, as soon as you smoke crack, that's a bad idea, and that's going to be unhealthy, and it's going to screw you up. But a relationship, it's like kind of the normal thing to do, right? You get into a relationship with somebody you love and you feel passionate about, and that's what you do. That's not a bad thing. So even though there were bad consequences, I thought that that's what I should be doing in life, because it fills me with passion and love and whatnot. I wasn't able to look further and realize the damage it can do to me, and it's just not a healthy relationship. I don't even think now. I'm thinking it's not even conducive to a good relationship, because there's so much pressure on my partner to feel that way about them, like to have this need to feel, and can only get it from somebody else. It's not fair. So with this kind of breakthrough and this new idea, I've like not gone anywhere close to like understanding how I can protect myself against that. Best I've done is deleted a couple of dating apps. Which actually I think was some type of addiction as well. Like
everything is an addiction now.
Not really. Actually, I got this idea from Gabor Mate as well, and he points out that many people have many addictions, and we just associate them with drugs or with the really bad things, the ones that which make us unhealthy and might cause death or institutions and whatnot. But there are so many addictions when you look at it like that. And yeah, I could see there was an unhealthy relationship with dating apps, that I would look to them for. I mean, I've told myself that because I want to be with somebody, I would like a partner, so I was using it for that reason. But actually, when you match somebody, or when I first start talking, there's this kind of excitement. Oh, somebody is interested in me, somebody wants me, I feel connected to them, or I feel wanted, or I feel valued. And then in the end, just with how they work, there's a whole lot of rejection as well, which makes me feel the opposite. It makes me feel worse, because it's just, that's how they work. Like, you swipe the other way, you feel bad, people say no thanks because it doesn't work out, whatever. But the effect was negative. Yeah, I was still using them. So that's how you identify an addiction. So now I'm super happy that I was able to identify that. I wouldn't have been able to do it a few months ago, but now I was like, yeah, okay, these dating apps it's a bad thing in my life. I just need to throw them away, because it doesn't give me anything that I need.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there's way more kinds of addictions that we have, but we don't class as such, because we don't snort things, So we're not addicted to anything, but there's way more. I'm not sure. I'm going with your definition. It makes sense. Maybe perhaps.
No, it's not my definition. This is from Gabon Matu, and he gave the ideas to me.
Okay. Yeah. But I was speaking of that. I was considering. I'm sure we had this conversation before. As you know, I've only had one girlfriend in my life, and I never really felt the need to go on a bar and find someone to have sex with. But if I did, I would assume that, and I know it's kind of a strange question because of the quarantine and the lack of social life we've had in the past year. But I would assume that being kind of soft or high would really facilitate. So do you think that you feel like your sobriety hinders your sexuality or your finding of partners, especially now that you've said no to dating apps?
I think if I wanted to and was looking at, I think it would just be maybe the same. Actually, I find that having less sex because I'm choosing choosing not to more. I think with alcohol, it changes how you think and you want to have sex. I forget, but I think it's your I can't remember the name of like your inner brain, which is just or like the base brain, which is just like responsible for like hunger, sex, and whatnot. Like apparently, when you drink alcohol, this one is more prevalent than
amygdala.
I don't know. I can't.
I should know. I used to be a psychologist, but I don't know. Sorry.
Anyways, so like you're way more connected with things like aggression, fight or flight. That's why people beat each other all the time when they're drunk. Why they fuck each other all the time when they're drunk. So yeah, I think I was having sex more just because I was just being a stupid animal, just wanted to fuck people. But now, like I find that I'm closer aligned with like what I'm looking for, and I'm happy not to pursue like just like sexual endeavors, really.
How do people feel?
I don't want to pursue sex like I would do if I was drinking all the time. I want to be more natural and authentic and really be with somebody because I want to be with them.
How do girls react when they're a little bit drunk and you're in a bar and you're hanging out, and then they realize that you're not drinking? Do they find that safe, or is it weird for them?
Yeah.
Like what's your experience?
Yeah, well, it happened once when I was in Sevilla, actually. This was last year when I was traveling there, and I just sat down to have a drink in a bar, like outside in the street, and I overheard a girl speaking English, and I presumed she was traveling, and I thought, okay, I'll go and see if it's okay if I drink with her. This was kind of nerve-wracking. Yeah, well, I'll tell you. But I thought, okay, this is kind of nerve-wracking because like going up to a girl in it like is nerve-wracking all the time. And I didn't have any alcohol. But anyway, I just said, hey, I'm traveling, and would you mind? And she was happy to like share a beer with somebody. And I was drinking something like this that it looks like beer, but it's fake beer. It's not it was alcohol-free, and I was drinking, and she was ordering, do you want another one? I was like, yeah, another one. So she thought I was drinking with her. And then at some point, it was like kind of a funky design. I think we'd actually had like 4 alcohol-free beer. I think we'd have like 4 beers or something. And I said, oh, what are you drinking? I said, oh, this is actually alcohol-free. And then I could feel like she felt uncomfortable because she thought we were getting drunk together. And I wasn't misleading her. I wasn't hiding what I was drinking or anything. And she felt uncomfortable. And I found this like really interesting because if you're worried about like somebody being around you, be worried about the drunk person. The sober guy's gonna be fine. But I think she was a little bit worried because she was drunk and I wasn't. But that's like I mean, I can kind of understand where she was because she thought we were there together. She thought we were on this drunk train or whatever, and I wasn't. So I could feel like she was a bit taken back from it. Not too much. We still hung around for a little while. It was a strange experience.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like it's usually I guess I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass, but I would assume it's the drunk guys that rape girls, not the sober ones, or something like. if you have to feel comfortable with anyone, I guess it would be the sober one.
Yeah.
But
They're
you
gonna be
challenge
thinking clearly.
you challenge all of our beliefs in that go. So after you said you educated yourself, and that's how this second round worked better on those website on the subreddit, and 1 year, one beer, and the other one. But like at a certain point, did you? At this, were you as you mentioned this? I think you were still taking MDMA every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd already started consuming MDMA once every 2 to 3 weeks, probably, whilst I was drinking. And I wasn't really worried about it. I saw as beer as my drug of choice, and so I was happy that I could stop that. And I should know, and I was pretty happy with my MDMA consumption. Maybe in the back of my mind, I thought maybe it's a bit too regular, but I was okay, and I was happy to, still be able to have some experience with people, and if I want to party, I can still have some substance and whatnot, and so it felt okay. The first time that I thought, maybe this is a bit too much, like that I went to Spain. It was the same trip where I went to Sevilla last year, and I was gone for around a month. And when I got back, I really wanted to take it. Like after, I was like, oh yeah, man, I felt like I want to, and it felt like a little bit, maybe I want to take it too much. That was probably the first time that I felt this way, but I wasn't like, I felt like I wasn't abusing it or anything. Nor did I ever feel like I was really abusing it. As I said, like you can't take too much because it just stops working. Well, no, I'm sure you can't take too much and it starts doing damage. But it wasn't as if I was taking it like every day or anything. So yeah, I just I continued. It became a bit more regular. It became once every 2 weeks and sometimes once every week. And then I started seeing a therapist. And then this was like amazing. Actually, this was just another kind of area of growth. I started to learn more about myself and about my kind of needs and wants. And it seemed like the obvious thing to tell her about the MDMA consumption. And I think at one point I went in and I said, I feel like I've been taking MDMA a lot recently. And we spoke about it. She agreed. It was a lot. And we spoke about it further. And in the end, we felt like it was getting in the way of therapy.
How so?
I was cleaning up this evening, and I knew I was going to discuss this, and I found this. This is what I wrote in therapy. So these were the ways. Well, we spoke about the reasons why how it might get in the way, and so it says it impacts the boundaries on what's mine and what's the drug. So because of this like come down that you get, although I would never feel like I was having a come down, to be honest. Like some people really struggle with come downs, but I never really felt like I was doing that. But I was going into therapy and I was talking about saying, oh, okay, I felt this way, I did this, and I was feeling a little bit fragile. And I thought, maybe that's some effects of the drug. It could only be like 4 days later. Well, maybe it's not. Like I didn't know where my feelings ended and where the drugs ended. I don't know where the boundary is. So it seemed silly. Why am I going to go to a therapist and talk about, try and understand like my issues, and then in the end I could just potentially just be talking about how the drug's making me feel bad. It's just a waste of time to talk about a drug, like how the drug affects you. But I didn't know what it was. So at least I needed to stop for some time so I can identify, okay, yeah, that is a drug, and it's what, and this isn't. So we agreed like that maybe I'd just take it once a month, which seemed reasonable for us. This was in January. January, I did it, just once a month. In that month, it was okay.
If you didn't take 1 month, could you take 2 times the next month? No, I'm joking.
Well, actually, that's kind of what happens because I didn't have it. I only had it once in January, then I went crazy in February. Like, okay, I need something. Yeah, and then so I told, look, yeah, I've been using it. We had disagreements, and I'm not able to. So then we ended the therapy, so I could focus on not using.
You went into therapy? You mean that session?
No, we didn't end. Like we spoke about like what that means, that I'm taking it too much, and we agreed that we would end the therapy so I can focus on getting clean and not using anything, even though I didn't really want to. But it just seems.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding, and I think it's important. When you say you went to therapy, you mean you stopped seeing her?
Yeah.
Or you went to that session?
No, we didn't end the session. In general, I stopped seeing her. I didn't see her for 2 months.
Why did that seem like a good idea? Well, apparently it was, because it's working, but.
Well, well, for the reasons like why would I go in there just to start talking about how drugs are making me feel?
Because you wouldn't stop.
Yeah, it doesn't offer any value. Like,
you
so
wouldn't
if I can
stop,
yeah. Okay. I mean, I agreed to, and like in January I did okay, but in February I just took more than I normally would, just like somehow make up for it. I don't know what it was.
So she banned you, kind of. She kicked you out.
Pretty much. I mean, of course, it didn't go like that, and I was in agreement with that. It makes sense for me to focus on not consuming drugs. But she didn't kick me out. It's a bit nicer than that. Man, I think it would be pretty heavy if a therapist kicked you out. It did feel like it a little bit.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. And I can relate with when I used to be a therapist. There's a certain contract that we have with our clients, and if they don't honor their contract, then maybe they should look for a different relationship. That's how we looked at things sometimes. I don't know if it was more or less like that.
No, it wasn't as heavy as that. I mean, we spoke about it. We had a session about it specifically, and in the end, I was in agreement that I should focus on not consuming drugs. And yeah, that's when I had my weed experiment, and I guess the experiment was successful. It was like,
Did you bake 6 cakes and then eat them one a day? Did you bake a cake every day? It doesn't really matter, but I'm really curious. How did this work?
I had 2 baking sessions. No, I had 3 actually. The first one I failed, and it didn't get me high. So I had 3 baking sessions and made a load. And yeah, and I mean, in the end, that experiment was a success because I realized, oh, I can't get high once every 2 weeks or whatever.
That experiment was always going to be a success. Either you only had it one time and you're like, yes, I can have it only every now and then, or you had it all the fucking time and it's like, okay, success. I realized that I cannot do this.
Yeah. So then I joined a group, and it's actually been incredible since I joined that group, where
an online group.
You know, it's online at the moment. The meeting, like because of Corona, the meet in person as well. Actually, it's funny. I was going to meet a couple of friends like last week, but I was kind of late because I was at this group, and I texted them and I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm doing drug things." I said, "Well, not drug things. That would be taking drugs and buying drugs, but you know." And she's like, my friend said, "Oh yeah, you're a junkie club." I was like, "Oh yeah, I like that name." I was at junkie club. Yeah, I mean, it's just online at the moment, and to be honest, it's been kind of amazing because it was, and I know it was serious when I had to end the therapy because of drug use. And because of, and it felt like a kind of a step up for me as well. In the past, it was alcohol. Even though alcohol is super dangerous, it's not really seen as that way in society. Weed, not so dangerous. Like MDMA, yeah, I mean, if you're taking too much, it can cause brain damage in the end. That's how serious it was. And I was like, I was worried. So yeah, then even knowing that I wasn't able to quit on my own. And so going to this group was kind of amazing because it seemed almost easy again. Like the alcohol, quitting alcohol seemed easy when I actually did it. The MDMA seems relatively easy by joining this group and getting the support there. Although I've not even had too much like support myself, but just being part of it helps me. Like, yeah.
So you people hear each other's stories? How does it work?
It's mostly just sharing what's happening with you. Like there is some ceremony, I guess, like certain things you say at the start and at the end. There's sometimes a topic which you can talk about and share your experience with. Sometimes it's just a general sharing, and we just take it in turns sharing like where we are in general, how we're feeling, how we're getting along. And yeah, that's it. It seems like there's no, it's not like so much to it, but it sometimes feels like magic to me that I just go there and I don't use anymore. And I think it's to do with this idea of like connection that I need. And I feel like I get it in this meeting. I connect with people like I can't normally. At least that's one thing I think that it helps me with. That I have some connection with my fellow humans, like in a very deep and meaningful way, because people are sharing things which are really, really difficult. Like,
So this is almost like a rhetorical question because I can presume what the answer would be, but so is it because you feel less alone because other people are suffering through the same, and then you can get inspiration from them and how they went through their own troubles?
not really. I mean, that is one thing, because it's like not what I was expecting at all. Like, because you have this idea of like maybe you think of what an addict is or a drug addict, and you have like bad ideas of just like the homeless guy shooting up on the streets or people robbing houses to feed their addiction, or what you have like terrible connotations of addicts, and addictions can lead people there. But actually, I just meet like.
For those who speak English as a second language, when Sam says you, it's general you. It's not me personally.
One. I lost my train of thought.
You have these preconceptions of drug addicts.
Yeah, and then go into these meetings and I see like just these incredibly strong, determined people who are pretty inspiring to me. I'm amazed by them actually, and so it does humble me in one way and gives me a lot of strength. I'm like, wow, they're doing that. That's something, man. But it's not really that I get. It's more. I don't know, like I just feel them in some way, man. Like I feel like I'm one with them. That sounds very like hippie-esque, but it's just like I feel part of the group, and they expose themselves in such a way which feels like there's so much honesty and love and like trust by exposing yourself and talking about your deepest problems, that I just feel just connected to them in some way. It's the only word I can use to express it, that I feel connected to them.
And I remember we talked about these groups beforehand, and not that I was, because I have no in spite of my past as a therapist, I have no knowledge, no specific knowledge about this group. So I suppose when we talked about this, it wasn't that I was encouraging you to attend. It was probably more that I was asking you why you wouldn't. And but at the time, you already quit alcohol. Perhaps when we talked about this, you hadn't realized how much of a problem MDMA could be for yourself. That's why you never really attended. What what do you see yourself as? Like, because of course, when we talk about sobriety, we talk about alcoholism as a counterpart. Do you see yourself now? Well, you do, because you said it. I'm sober for 11 months. But were you an alcoholic? What do you class yourself as? And perhaps this could be a stupid question for people at home, but one doesn't need to be an alcoholic to quit drinking, and the definition of alcoholic could be a bit relative. And one of the interesting aspects that made me want to talk to Sam about this is that to take away some of the myth of what someone that wants to quit drinking, who they are and what their habits are. It doesn't need to be someone that, as Sam was saying, that is like, robbing people and whatever. It could be anyone, and it could even be you that is watching this or hearing this. So is alcoholic a term that you associate yourself with, Sam?
No, I don't at all. I actually hate the term. I think alcoholic has so many connotations which are wrong in the end. I don't think it describes me. I mean, I think at one point it might have been a medical term, but it's not even a medical term anymore. So it's turned in that word is turned into an idea that people have in society of what can happen to somebody when they're really, really struggling with alcohol. And that mental model is not what I was ever. I guess most of my friends and family know me as just a person who was drinking a lot at some point. Maybe the people closest to me recognize that it was too much, but I don't associate myself with being an alcoholic. Like, and now it's funny because now I kind of like.
It's important to define it well, because otherwise it could sound as, because I know what you mean because I'm your friend, but it could sound as denial or something like that. So it's important to really explain what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's only recently. I mean, even though I've just joined a group to help with drugs, even before then, I didn't even like associate myself with being an addict. Like throughout this whole meeting, I've been referring to myself as an addict and addictions, but it's kind of a new thing for me, which is amazing considering I've had pretty heavy addictions and quite a few of them. So and actually how I see my relationship with alcohol is changing as time passes, because when I was in it I thought I'm just drinking too much and I just need to kind of like get a handle of it and it's okay. And even when I quit, like shortly after, I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy that I'm not drinking it, but I wasn't bad. But to be honest, the more distant I am, the worse I see that it was. I mean, the medical way to look at it now, I think they call it alcohol use disorder, and there's a way to measure this. And you can ask, there's questionnaires online, and you answer different questions, and it'll give you a score on where you are on this alcohol use disorder. And I was pretty high, so that's like from the medical standpoint. But like, I don't know how people want to. I mean, the other things, like how people would look at me in society, probably would just think I was just somebody who likes to drink a lot. That's it. But for me, like, I recognize it was a problem for me, and I don't feel like I was able to reduce, so I had to stop. That's it.
What do you hope for yourself in terms of usage of substances?
What do I hope for myself? I mean, it's kind of a realistic hope and an unrealistic hope. Like a realistic hope would I could use sensibly. I don't want to use alcohol actually at the moment. It's just funny because I feel like I don't even want to use it now. But with other substances, I would like to use MDMA once in a while, experiments here and there. But I think with the way that I am, that it'll just lead me to a road I don't want to go down. So what I hope and what I'm aiming for at the moment is to be abstinent and not use anything. I mean, to be honest, I'm not even thinking about in the future. There's this like saying that I've heard a lot, and it seems almost dumb to me. It's called Just for Today. And this means that you don't need to commit to the rest of your life. You don't even need to commit for a week. You just need to focus on today. And actually, this has helped me out a lot, because sometimes I have wanted to use, if I'm feeling down or not connected or whatever, I've wanted to use. And it's kind of scary, actually, sometimes, like, oh, fuck. But then, what, in like 2 months' time, I might want it then. And then you can easily get overwhelmed. So it's kind of difficult for me to talk about in the future, because I don't want to worry myself of, my God, what's like 2 years of sober life look like?
It's not dumb at all.
But so all I care about is like is today. That's all I focus on, and it makes it super easy. And so I guess at the moment I just categorize myself as being retired. Maybe in the future I will want to come out of retirement, but I'm not thinking about it. All I'm considering now is like the best thing for me is to be abstinent from all substances, and that's what I'm doing, and I like it, actually. It's not that bad.
Really? How is it?
No, it's great. It's great. It's like I said earlier with
you discovered Sundays.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a good thing. It's like I said earlier with the calibration of like what I like. Now I just like other things. It seemed almost like I would never have believed it, but when I was drinking, I was like, no, I can't just do other things and then I will like them as well. But I just don't miss alcohol. Sometimes I miss like the experience of like a night out and getting like a bit wild with friends and having discussions that me and you like to have. But the more distance I have from alcohol, the kind of the less I miss it, and I can see value in other things. So yeah, sobriety is pretty good. I would recommend trying it at least for a month.
It's not dumb at all what you said. When I worked as a therapist in Birmingham, I said it like it was in America, but it was in England. I had my clients, as we call them, they used to self-harm before they came. And if someone was on the like if someone was quite unstable, we would ask them to commit that they wouldn't self-harm. Sometimes we would do it on an hourly basis, very rarely.
Yeah.
Usually it would be for the next 12 hours or something like that, or during the night, because precisely because of what you said, because it seems quite overwhelming, and it like, well, forever. I don't know if I can do forever, but maybe you can know that you can do it now. So it's not dumb at all. Not all cliches are dumb. So
yeah, but I think it's dumb because if you recognize that drugs are a problem for you, and you recognize that you can't take them for the rest of your life, then you know that you don't want to take them for the rest of your life. So saying just for today, it doesn't work. Like there's something wrong in that saying. But I guess it's just the way that you think about it. Okay, I can only commit to today, but today you commit to today every day. Like there's some like strangeness in it, but it's actually helped me out to just think, okay,
it's what works for you.
All I need to worry about is right now, and I can do it. I can handle today.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. This was really, really useful.
Would you mind if I ask you a question before we wrap up?
Of course.
Because this has been focused on me, and I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot at all, but
No
with
problem.
my definition of addiction, it's something that you continuously do, which can be negative in your life. Would you say that you have anything close to an addiction?
Not with that definition. There's nothing in my life that is bad for me that I do continuously. And I know I drink more than the average person. I like to get drunk twice a week. Throughout the week, I drink 1 glass of wine at lunch and 1 glass of wine at dinner. But I don't see that as alcohol. It's like a drink that I like to have when I'm having food. And I know it sounds like, well, what are you saying? It's not alcohol? Of course it's alcohol, it's wine. But what I mean is, like, I know I'm not going to get drunk. And it's just that I really appreciate food. Depends on the food, but I really appreciate food more with a glass of wine. And I'm not saying that what I drink is totally healthy. I know it's not. So it is okay. It is harmful, but for me, it balances out in a way that I feel it's good. And I can give you an example. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm a better person when I'm drunk, and I will explain. Like like many of us, dabble with several ideas at the same time, but most of the times I lack the courage to actually make a commitment to that. And the other day, I've been thinking, as you know, for a long time about I have this eternal guilt, eternal until now, and not that anything is going to change in tomorrow, but that I have an empty room. I have two empty rooms and I have one empty house. Not a house, but like a little kind of an apartment. And it feels like it's really unfair that I have it. And I carry that guilt kind of within me. It's not that that guilt prevents me from living a fulfilled and happy life. It doesn't, but it's always there. And the other day, I had an experience that sums up how beneficial it could be for me personally. And we've been talking for almost 2 hours about how pernicious all substance abuse can be. And then that's why I wanted to talk to you, because different people have different experiences, and especially you have quite a nuanced one, which I think, because usually when we hear someone talking about an addiction, it's someone that their life was really fucked. And then it might happen that people feel like, oh, I'm not like that, so I'm good. So I wanted to talk to you because I think it's useful to hear someone whose life wasn't totally fucked. It was just more fucked than it was worth it. And
Exactly.
and that night I was in Lisbon in Catarina's place, and I was drunk. I was probably high as well, and I was thinking about my empty apartment, and I made a decision. Turned out it totally backfired, but I sent a really heartfelt message to my wife, Grace, saying, if we want to be good, we have to be good. And it's not that kind of message that you forget the next day. I thought long and hard about this. And I made no mistakes, which is something that happens when people write when they're drunk. I took my time writing this message saying, like, we should, we shouldn't have a fucking empty apartment. We should give that apartment to that homeless guy, João, that usually comes by our house. And Grace replied with her next day, totally understanding what I was saying. It wasn't out of character. Also reminding me that we need to have a new roof, and it's going to be several thousand of euros. So if we can have, as we will, if we can have someone paying there, then that can help us pay for the roof. Then that money we don't have. So okay. But my point is that sometimes being intoxicated, being high or drunk, really allows me to have an extra step of a thought of something that I wanted to do anyway. And I know that it shouldn't be necessary for me to be drunk to think like that. It just so happens that it was and is in that moment. And it doesn't mean that I don't have brave assessments when I'm sober or anything like that. But could be that I'm lucky, could be that I'm just fooling myself. I give space for each alternative. But I really I can't deny that it could have an impact on my body. That's neither here nor there. That's a fact. It's just that for me, it is worth it. I don't feel like it hinders my life. And we have different lifestyles. For example, funny enough, I thought about it this week, and I didn't think about it because we were going to talk about this. It just happened. I was wondering whether I would smoke weed daily if I didn't live with my wife. And maybe I would. I don't know. But then again, I live with my wife, and so I don't smoke daily, so I don't need to worry about that. So no, not really. Does it sound like I'm escaping something? Does it sound like I'm?
Mm, not really, and actually, It's not even as if I'm anti-drugs. I
I
guess
know, and you know
I
me.
guess I didn't. I guess I didn't come across as anti-drugs in this, but I mean, actually, I can really see like with regulated usage, if which many people can do. Like alcohol is fun. Weed is like interesting with the way that it thinks. MDMA can really have some quite profound feelings. Sam Harris writes about this, and he associates that with like how he feels about spirituality. Psychedelics can have like you can have spiritual experiences and just fun experiences as well. Like I actually think there are like interesting advantages to drugs. I don't think necessarily bad, but yeah, but they can lead in to bad things. And if I'm challenging you as like much as I can, if I could find anything to challenge you on, it's that if it is having negative effects on your body, that's a pretty heavy thing to trade with having certain thoughts and trading your health for it in some way. I know like you're not like drinking like I was, and it's not like impacting you in a negative way, but still it's quite a big trade, I would say.
Sure, but the thing is that I don't know how much it will take from me. So I'm fine with
Yeah.
accepting that trade because, of course, if I knew let's assume I could know this for a fact. If I knew that it would take 10 years from my life, then I would consider it. If I knew it would take 5 years from my life, then I wouldn't consider it.
Yeah, maybe in the future that's what they'll do. Just like take your blood and be like, okay, on this path, this will happen. And then you're
But
like, okay,
that's when I will
deal.
become a denier of science. I don't know how they became. It's just the government, man. They want you to stop using because if you use, you're rebellious. Um, so for anyone that is watching this and whether if they can identify somewhat with Sam, I will not give out Sam's contact, but if you want to ask any questions or whatever, send it to me, and then I will forward it to Sam. I'm sure Sam will be more than happy to reply with whatever help he can give in terms of I don't know different ways of finding help. And you can send me. Go on.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not an expert. Actually, I feel like I'm just early
You're
on
a
in the
person.
journey. Yeah, I'm early on in this sobriety and abstinence journey, but I do have some knowledge and I know some resources, and I'll be absolutely happy. I mean, actually, one of the ideas behind this group that I go to is that you can help others, and that actually helps yourself. So it's just a group of people helping each other. So I'm more than happy to help anybody who needs some help, or even just as questions.
Yeah, so please feel free. Sam, thanks a lot for this. I think it was really a nice trip. I mean, it would be a better trip if it was for better reasons, but it is for a good reason because you're constantly finding the better self of yourself, and it is really, it's like the second time that I'm about to finish, and then something else comes up. When you first announced your sobriety, I so Sam was at some point. Sam spent some time here in Portugal, maybe once a year, more or less, sometimes a month or two. And I try to be a friend. That friends like to tell me like what will be comfortable for you and whatever. And he told me very wisely that his sobriety is his problem, not mine. So I don't need to refrain from having friends over and having drinks and whatever. But I did wonder. I did wonder, like, is this going to impact our friendship? And I think it didn't impact in the slightest the love that I have for you and the love that you have for me, I hope. we probably won't have those crazy nights anymore, and that's like something that was awesome. But then again, it's better not to have those crazy nights with someone you love and have them be the best self that they can be, because life isn't about crazy nights. But do you understand? Like, this is a totally
I know what you mean.
self-centered fear.
Yeah.
I acknowledge my egotism 100%, but do you understand?
Yeah, I mean, I have to worry as well. I read a lot that, especially after quitting alcohol, that a lot of friends drop away, and I think it's fair to say that our relationship at the start, our friendship was built on being drinking buddies. We parted a lot together over the years, and our connection was made through alcohol primarily, I would say. But as we got to know each other outside of that, and maybe one of the reasons that I class you as such a good friend is that, I spoke quite a lot about connections to people and its importance, and something I need in my life. I do feel connected with you, and yeah, I love you as well because of that connection. And I think that's why our friendship can transcend like me quitting alcohol or drugs or whatever.
Great, thank you, man, and thank you for Sam thought whether you should do this or not, and I think, unfortunately, I'm not the influencer that I could be. So probably this is only going to be seen by 500 people. But if
Yeah,
it's
500. Oh my God.
but and I'm sure it's going to be interesting for all of them, and maybe it could be beneficial, even if it's just for one of them. Then it's already served its purpose. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.